Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, let's do that again. That was so nice.
Absolutely.
I was just starting to feel it, right? We were just starting to feel it. We do it like a couple more times. We'll let it really soak in. What a beautiful day. It's Rosh Chodesh Elul. It means it's the first day of the month of Elul, the month exactly before we get to Rosh Hashanah.
So that means our blood pressure goes up.
It does. Our blood pressure here goes way up. But what it also, the rabbis teach, is Elul, spelled Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed, is the same as the acronym for Ani Ledodi V'Dodi Li, which means I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. And so the rabbis teach that this is the month that God is yearning for us, like the star-crossed lover, wanting us back, calling us back. This is the month in which we're feeling that much closer to the beloved and the beloved to us. So Chodesh Tov, happy new month, happy Elul. May our soul searching lead us to even greater alignment to who we were meant to be put on this earth to be. So let's start Shabbat, this first Shabbat of Elul. And Barbara, would you like to light the candles? And bring up your Siddur and offer us a reading on page 3, whichever one you like. Ah, yes, reading glasses are good too. Yeah. I should put them up here on the table with the candles. Books upside down. Page 3, yeah, the other way. Almost. A little bit more. Couple. 2 more. 1 more. All right. Yes, made that.
In English?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As the Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Wonderful. They're a bit of a trick.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yasher Koach. Toda rabba.
Page 5, Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafel.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabat.
Amen.
L'chaim. So Dave, Shabbat Shalom to everybody in YouTube land. Hi,
Shabbat
Mom.
Shalom. Hi,
Shabbat
Dad.
Shalom. We miss you. Come here, come back. And I am sure that there is somebody in this room who each of us can't remember their name or hasn't met, so we're too small not to know who one another is. So let's wish one another Shabbat Shalom. Remind them of your name, even if you think they remember it. And
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
I don't know, tell them where you're on vacation this summer. right. Good. Okay. Got a shofar for Dawn. We are going to go into that this time? Okay. Are we going to pick up the volume, the tempo? Okay. Ele Hamda Libi. Page 11 at the bottom. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda Libi. Ele Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Ele Hamda, Hamda Libi. Husana ve'alna titalem. Bottom of 11. Okay. Welcome the better angels. Those angels, we understand, they descend, they expand, they bring that double helping of Shabbat soul, and then they leave, only to return the next day. Those Malachei HaMalachim. Shalom Aleichem, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Adonai, page 12. Come, let us sing and rejoice. Chadodi on page 21. Verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmi'anu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemot tiferet ve'elitila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela
לקראת שבת לכו וnecha כי הם מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה למחשבה תחילה
lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela
Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orer, kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kvod Adonai, alaich nigla, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise if you're able and greet the beloved.
Boi v'shalom ateret balagam b'simcha u'tzolato chemunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please remain standing for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitzkadav, Yitzkadash Shemei Rabbah.
אמן
Ve'amad yivarach hirutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'biyom echon u'b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael bagala bagala u'bizman kariv b'meru
אמן
Yesh meraba mevorach le'olam olam ve'amayah.
Yitbarach, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitrama, v'yitnasai, v'yitadar, v'yitalel, v'yithalal, shemei d'kodesha,
בריחו
le'ela minko birchata v'shirata.
תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם ביעמה אמן.
Please remain standing, the page 28, the Baruch. Sacred words, even the evenings. Wisdom opens gates locked around our hearts. Asher vidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim. Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen.
Understanding alters with time, changing seasons, cycles divine. Uvit funam mishaneiti, umachalivet hazmani.
Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen. Paint diamonds on the canvas called sky. Soothe our souls with a lilting lullaby. Umesader takochavim b'mishmorotehem b'rakia kirtzono. Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen.
Rolling, rolling into the night, rolling, rolling away the light. Olelo mipnei choshech, olelo choshech mipnei or.
Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen. Spirit of the night, we bless your name. Eternal light, eternal flame, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu, Leolam Va'ed. Evening, the evening, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen. Ma'ariv Aravim, Amen. Amen. Page 32. A great love, everlasting love. It's ours. With Torah, mitzvot, laws, precepts.
Ahavat olam,
Ahavat olam,
Beit Yisrael. Torah u'mitzvot,
to keep.
על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד.
כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Day and night we'll reflect on them, for they are our life.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו
And doing them lengthens our days.
ונגע יומם ולילה.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Please let's read together in English on page 37. But Ben, we're in this beautiful musical place. Can you play underneath our reading? Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you're tired or you're rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They're reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. And all this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. Emet, that you are our God and we are Israel, your people. And we accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting our voices joyously as we do now on page 40, Michamocha. Who is like you?
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh. kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha neder b'kodesh nora tehilot. Osei pele, osei pele.
ונאמר כי ברדון את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו.
גאל ישראל.
Hashkivenu Adonai 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ushmor tzeteinu uvoenu lechayim ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
Please rise. We work our way to the Amidah, in many ways the apex of our service, where we touch, come close to touching that oneness. 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh hakol, V'zocher chasei avot v'ima'ot, U'mevii gula livnei b'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה אליו, מלך ממית ומחייב Mashiach Yeshua.
ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך
אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue privately. The words of our heart are the words of the text between pages 54 and 62. Please be seated when you feel you've said what you need to say. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו בעולם בארץ. It's so pretty. Please keep it going. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which by day sustains us. For these and so much more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. Page 253. Our opportunity to bring into our thoughts those are hurting, need healing of body, spirit, psyche, relationship, self. This Mishaberach is for them. This week we're especially holding in our hearts Howard Simon, Gloria Berkowitz, Gittel Bat Chana, Beryl Ben Sima Vishmuel Leib, Steve Gellis, Sholem Avram Ben Golda Veshayahu, Harav Miriam Yael Chaya Bat Sarah Yitzchak, Maxwell Zwain, Menachem Mendel Ben Yehuditu Michael, Luke Wright, Kreindal Chaya Rafaela Bet Yehudit Sharon, Kathy Gale, Dolores McKell, James Janelle and Bill Edgar, Vivian Chong, Wendy Chong, Devorah Bat David Vachaya, Kedem Ben Shoshana Veruvain, John Spiegel, Yisrael Hirsch Ben Gedalia Verivka Hinda, Bob Schwartz, Bob Kahn, Richard Berg, Tzvi Ben Eliyahu Vagolda, John Thompson, and to these names we add. So does God.
Simaresa Badina, Maury Greenberg.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your heart. May our hearts be filled with understanding and blessed with the power of your love. Vishaberach Avoteinu, Abraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov.
Misheberach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one
Bless our mother.
May the one
Bless our father. Hear our prayer.
hear our prayer,
Hear our prayer.
hear our prayer,
Hear our prayer.
hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer. And bless us as
Amen. And may those who care for them be blessed as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We know that it's also Rosh Hashanah for the animals, so our animals get blessings tonight too. Our cats, our dogs, our goldfish. This is good. So, reading Shoftim, which is our parsha this week, is a bit of a wild spiritual ride. I don't know the last time you guys opened it up and read it from beginning to end, but this experience this year took me from heights of inspiration to the borderline of despair. It's especially true, at least for me, in viewing this ancient text through the lens of the pages of the front page of the news this week, or this month, really. Now, I want to be clear that reading the text of the Torah is not the same as knowing what our subsequent rabbinic Judaism teaches on it today, so we don't take the text literally. It is the borderline. It is the blueprint of the religion that we practice today. Still, there's a lot that that resonates with us from the original text. But what I'm talking about is the pshat of the text, how the rabbis talk about the pshat of the text. And the pshat is just the plain meaning of the text, the simple plain reading, without reading into a lot of interpretation or what it might be, or the mystical or the spiritual. And the despair for me comes from the pronouncement this week of how the text describes how we're supposed to treat the spoils of war, including the people who they count as spoils of war, when we capture the land of Canaan, and what to do about the people who are displaced as a result of war. The implications, of course, the modern implications of these questions are very clearly resonant in the modern state of Israel, and especially what's happening since the Netanyahu regime came back into power. May they live and be well. But that's for another day, that's for another time. And I'm going to say this a number of times. What we absolutely, absolutely must understand about what's going on in Israel is that this man Netanyahu has been in power for the better part of the last 20 years. Now, it's not going too far out on a limb to compare Netanyahu with our last president. Now, we had our last president for 4 years. Now, could you imagine if we had that last president for 20 years? People would very easily equate who America is with what the policies of the government of that particular regime are. But that would be a mistake to judge the entire country by this regime. And all you have to do, and I'm going to stop here, is go to Israel as I was in January and as I will again, and to feel and hear what the majority of the people are saying. They've got to get their act together, but that's for another time. Tonight, I want to look at the text through lenses a little bit closer to home, our own front pages. This is a month when our former president has been indicted twice more for a total of 4 different jurisdictions and a total of, I think, 91 criminal counts. And this is the text I want to focus on, this part of the text that deals with justice. Okay? The parsha in which we're reading today is the one in which we hear tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. And I actually just want to read that text together and talk about it. Okay? So I've just brought bits of the text. So we could pass these around. Take 2 and pass. There you go, Abby. Susan. Ben, you're missing out. Okay. So, with the forewarning, I may interrupt you. Tom, would you start reading the text, please? I want to also say that magistrates, and the word of the parsha, shoftim, means judges. Keep going.
You shall not judge unfairly. You shall show no partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the discerning and upset the plea of the just. Justice shall you pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that the Lord your God is giving you.
Great. Okay, so here we go. Maybe we've read this before, maybe not, but I think it bears repeating, right? So it could say, you shall appoint generals or police or princes or kings, but it doesn't say that. It says you're going to appoint judges, and this is about justice, creating justice. Notice it also says in all of your settlements, so it's not just one place, it's in all of your little municipalities. Each one has a place to go where they can pursue justice. And I just want to sort of throw this out here. What do you hear? And I'm going to sit down because I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even going to be here. I want to like really feel that we're like studying this text together. So, bribes. The caution of bribes. What's implied? Why? Why is it dishonesty? Someone shouldn't be able to control the situation just because they have more money or more power. Yeah. And what else? What else are we hearing? Say what again? It undermines faith in the process. Yeah. Yeah. And people think of it, right? If you've got that kind of power, then unless there's a rule against wielding it, then it can really run amok. Any other thoughts on the? And there's no rule of law. So it continues, yes. Note that it is justice here, according to the text, is what assures that the people will thrive, right? It says, justice, justice shall you pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that your Lord, your God, is giving you. So it's not saying about crops, it's not saying about money, it's not saying about, any number of things it could say that allows a people to thrive, but it's justice. Great. Barbara, you want to read chapter 17? Right, no vigilante, right? Due process. Exactly. Established, it has to be established. Okay, so we know that's what it says here, but wait, it does turn out not so easy to commit somebody to the death penalty. So yes, it's there, but we're going to continue. Please.
A person shall be put to death only on the testimony of 2 or more witnesses. He must not be put to death on the testimony of a single witness. Let the hands of the witnesses be the first against him to put him to death.
Okay.
And the hands of the rest of the people thereafter. Thus we will sweep out evil from the witness.
Great. So what are the implications of requiring 2 witnesses, not just one? Right, one person can't, no matter how powerful they may be or noisy they may be or how many likes they have on social media, one person is not enough, right? There's got to be some kind of corroboration. Yeah. And then anything else, other implications of...
I have the feeling if it's one person, it could become a vendetta based on personal needs rather than the needs of the community.
One person, it's a personal vendetta rather than the needs of the community, the larger good. Yeah. Other thoughts? How about this idea of casting the first stone? The one who's the witness casts the first stone. Say that again. Yeah. You can't just post something, tweet something. It's got implications. So say what you will about, capital punishment, casting the first stones, but when we look at it from that perspective, that, our words have power, especially when we're against other people, right? That they have consequences. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
But these consequences are death. It doesn't start by saying, well, if somebody does this, then they should get put in jail for a week or a year or 10 years. It starts off with death.
So there isn't a lot of, in Torah, it's not like you get, this gives you 5 years, this gives you 10 years. It does. And that, I'm not going to deny that that's what it says in the text. And I don't mean to belittle what it says in the text. When the rabbis interpret this, basically they say that any court that puts anybody to death once in 100 years is called a court with blood on their hands. So the way that that this gets read is that it deserves punishment. But if you see, right, you don't just, it's very difficult to put somebody to death. There has to be witnesses, there has to be more than one witness, there has to be warnings, there's any number of different things. So I don't want to minimize the fact that it says death, but I don't want us to get stuck on the fact that this is demanding the death penalty. I hope that's helpful. I mean, what I think it's really teaching us here is, I think is what we've been drawing out here, that our words have, our testimony has power, and that we don't use it lightly. And that it needs more than one person who just is making these claims. I know you don't like it. Yeah, Ben.
I'm also thinking, like you said, there's so many things around it. Like, if somebody's going to transgress something, there has to be two witnesses, and the witnesses have to be two people. They have to be like knowledgeable scholars, and they have to say to you, if you do this,
Oh.
you are gonna. This is the punishment. If you do it right in front of them, and then they both have to say that. They have to say, do you understand? And the person says yes, and then they have to go ahead and commit the act of sin in front of them. And there's like a certain amount of time that they like. If they know that and they walk away, and there's like 7 minutes, and then they do it. It's also like there's like.
There's a really, really high bar in order to get that kind of punishment. Is what Ben is saying, is that the rabbis instituted a seriously high bar of needing witnesses, needing warning, needing understanding of the warning, a certain period of time that goes by, and then there's people that witness, and they have to be the same ones. So yes, I know what it says, and the interpretation, as I said, it's a really high bar. Yeah.
This much discussion, let's just take a look at this text. The text is small.
Yes. Yes. So what I'm really trying to do is not get stuck on the I want to look at the bigger picture, the implications of what are the underlying values that the Torah is trying to impart to us through these texts. It's easy to it's too easy to miss those underlying values if we just get stuck on, oh, but it's the death penalty and the death penalty is wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? I know it's frustrating, but go with me on this. Can we continue? Yes. Okay. Where were we? Yes, 8. So Seth, you want to read? Nice and loud, because you're reading through that mask.
It is too baffling for you to decide, be it a controversy over homicide, civil law, or assault, matters of dispute in your courts. You shall promptly repair to the place that the Lord your God will have chosen, and appear before the Levitical priest or the magistrate in charge at the time, and present your problem. When they have announced to you the verdict in the case, you shall carry out the verdict that was announced to you from that place that the Lord chose, observing
Scrupulously.
You shall act in accordance with the instructions given you and the ruling handed down to you. You must not deviate from the verdict that they announced to you, either to the right or to the left. Should a man act presumptuously and disregard the priest's charge with serving there, the Lord your God or the magistrate, that man shall die. Thus you will sweep out evil from the city. All the people will hear and be afraid and will not act presumptuously.
Okay, so what do we take from this paragraph? This idea that you have to accept the verdict, and if you don't accept the verdict, you're in trouble. You have to accept the law. Say that again? Stop the steal. Say more, Elliot. Yeah, right. I don't like that law. It doesn't apply to me. Yeah. Not allowed. there can very well, yes, no, there is nothing here about the repentance of the individual. It is most certainly a spiritual practice that that individual should have time after justice has been served. Yeah. Again, I don't want to get stuck on this person shall die, okay? Because in reality, the death penalty really isn't an option. What I really would like to get to here is the principles underneath here, right? And I think that what Tom and Elliot are bringing up is that, there is one law for everyone, right? There's time to understand why perhaps that person needs to realign himself to the greater good, but that's not what's here now. Yeah, but then when there's a verdict, and you have to abide by it. There's a law and you have to abide by it. I want to go back a little bit earlier in the paragraph where it says, "You shall promptly repair to the place that the Lord your God will have chosen." Why there? Why do you think that the text is pointing out that there's a place, a particular place where this justice is meted out, and on some level they're associating it with God? I'm having such a hard time hearing you, Seth, with the mask on. Thank you.
Something about respect for staying within the limits of the law, that you're not doing this in any old place at any old time.
Yeah, I think for sure that there's an element of respect. Yeah. When we go to a courtroom, is it usually just like a cinder block place, tables and chairs sort of haphazardly put around? How are courtrooms usually designed? Formally. Nobly, thoughtfully. How else? Sometimes the judge is even elevated a little bit, isn't he or she, right? There's order, there's dignity, there's respect. Maybe even you stand, right? You stand when the judge comes in, right? So I think very much that modern courtrooms, at least courtrooms that we're used to, are modeled on this idea that there should be a bit of awe and respect, a little bit of fear, right? That we should fear the consequences of breaking the law. That there are consequences for these things, right?
What's the significance of, you could appear before the Levitical priest or the magistrate? Sounds like it might be a religious authority or it might be a civil authority.
Yeah, biblically speaking, the priests served a number of different functions, and sometimes they served a function of peacemakers. So I think there's a piece in here where the place that God has chosen, where of course we can think, okay, that's a temple, that's Jerusalem, but what we're looking at is this idea that the message should be sent that there's something greater than yourself, right? That we should have appeal to a conscience, a higher authority. There is an ultimate truth, and that counts, right? Someone's watching. Great. All right. Then, Ben, you want to read? Okay, so I just want to note that the text doesn't really like the idea, the Torah doesn't really like the idea that we should have a king understands that God is sovereign. But so it's a bit of a, you know, if you really want a king, fine, but these are the rules that this king or queen, as it may be, has to follow. It's a possibility, because everybody else has kings and queens, by the way. Why shouldn't we? But notice that there's a partnership there. That wants a partnership clearly between the sovereign and God through the Torah. And notice also, similar to our own laws, that there has to be somebody who's native born, somebody who's born in the United States. But why? Why do you think the Torah, or why might you think it's a good idea to have these rules for a king? What's the caution? To make sure he has an allegiance to the people, to Torah specifically, right? And not elsewhere. Yeah. Other ideas? Of the people, not above the people. Yeah. Other things that there's a cautionary tale in here? Yeah, why? Why? Why would that be? When you amass a lot of power, you remember that. Lose sight of connection to, just a groundedness to reality, right? Yeah. Interesting, right? It's different. Everybody hear what Seth says? It stands out in contradistinction to what we really think when we think about kings, who, they're very rich and they're all by themselves and they're disconnected from the people, and that's sort of what we want in a king, right? This is very different. It's a more democratic kind of ideal. Okay. This I think is interesting. Abby, you want to read? All right, I just want to stop you right there, because there's actually, this is one translation. Another translation can understand this text as saying that he should write for himself this Torah in a book before or in front of the Levitical priest. So it's not clear whether a copy has to be written for him or he has to actually write it himself. Please continue. Great, thank you. So why? What are the motivations here? Why does he have to be so versed in Torah? Why such that he has to write it himself, or he has to have one with him all the time? Humble and learned. Yeah, that he's not the law. This is the law. Yeah. Yeah. The rules that you're writing aren't the ones that you're making up. Not only the letter of the law, but the spirit behind it as well. You understand? Like when you're writing it slowly, you have to think about that. It's true. Yeah.
We see, he's not to have a huge mass of wealth and power.
Not a huge amount of massive wealth and power yet.
About the kings of Israel, most of them did go to Egypt.
Can you be specific, Glenn?
How many wives did David have? How big an army?
And Solomon, especially, yes. Yet, David was very aware of, not so much Solomon. Solomon got into some trouble, but David was very aware of Torah. But yes, he was a political animal, to be sure. Yes. Possible other reasons, motivations in here. Anything strike you? Okay. So let's, so Elliot, you want to read 18, yeah. Okay. So what's up here? So priests are not allowed to own land. All of the Israelites, they get a portion of the land of Israel. This is the tribe of Dan, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Issachar. They all get their plot of land by tribe, but not anybody in the priestly tribe. They get nothing. They're only, they live because they are supported only by the people's donations, sacrifices, taxes, if you will. Why? Limits their power. Mm-hmm. They're already pretty powerful. You add land to that, it's a prescription for corruption. It reminds them that they work for the people. Yeah. Most of them live in abject poverty. Most of them are very, very, very poor. But this isn't, you don't want to equate the ultra-Orthodox in Israel as the Levitical priests, though. I mean, you could say that anybody who is supported by the government, is sort of in that place, but you wouldn't say that the ultra-Orthodox in Israel are working for the good of the people in the same way that the Torah is talking about, like the Levitical priests, because they are there actually to serve. They are, well, whether they think so or not, it's kind of irrelevant. Yeah. They came from Egypt, in which the priestly class in Egypt not only had the power, but also amassed an awful lot of wealth. And this is one of the contradistinctions to Egyptian society. It says, we're not going to do it like them. Those who are representing God or God's word or the law, they're not going to be able to lord it over you in every way. If you can excuse the pun. So so humility is a big piece here. So where are we? So Stacy, you want to read the last bit on 19? Thank you. So it's not just the death penalty, it's really any case requires multiple witnesses and a minimum of 3 judges, a Beit Din. That's a minimum of 3 judges. So so you see that this is a section that I think you really, if you want to, it's worthwhile peeling what are the principles of justice that are underneath here. Wondering if in anything, something else that has struck you from anything that we've read from this text? Or any principles or anything that resonates in what it is that we're living through today? Yeah, Ben?
We're talking about the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was sharing this, I was in Union Square like a couple weeks ago, and there was these group of people that looked like Jews, or coming off as Jews, and so I started asking them questions, and they're Messianic Jews, meaning they're trying to recruit Jews for conversion to Christianity. They're really Christians, but they come off, they say shalom, it's like Jews for Judaism, it's what they do. And so I started talking to them, and you know, I know a lot about Christianity because I played in churches for a long time, I know a lot about this. And this first paragraph, this chapter 16, it talks to Christianity. It says, if you believe this, if you believe that this man was born from a virgin, he died, and he rose on the third day, and if you believe in him, he takes away the sins of the world, you're going to go to heaven. And that's the premise of it, that if you believe this, then you're going to go to heaven. And it's a bribe. If you believe this, you get this reward. And I read this in this Torah thing this weekend, it was like, it blew my mind. A lot of times we don't know what to say to refute that. People say, why don't you believe this? Well, it's a bribe. We don't believe in bribes as Jews. Pretty powerful, right?
Never really thought about it that way. Thank you, Ben. So, the Sfat Emet of a couple centuries ago, century and a half or so, on the line, Tzedek, Tzedek Tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. You can read along with me. He writes, there is no final depth or end to justice and truth. We always have to go deeper, seeking out the truth within the truth. And I want to just point out that the word truth in Hebrew is emet. Aleph, mem, taf. It is not true until the person is entirely unified and prepared for God's service. Thus, truth, emet, contains the first, aleph, the middle, mem, and the last of the Hebrew letters, taf. Aleph, mem, taf. Emet is the first, middle, and last. As opposed to the word sheker, which means untruth or falsehood. If you're familiar with the Hebrew alphabet, if you see aleph, mem, and taf, they're square. The bottoms line up. So it would rest perfectly on a horizontal plane. The word sheker is a shin, a kuf, which goes below the line, and a resh. It doesn't stay straight. It's going to teeter-totter. It's going to fall back and forth. So mem, he's saying, right, the emet contains the first and middle and last of the Hebrew letters. The Yehudi of Prizhukha taught that the word justice is repeated here to say that even in the pursuit of justice, you have to engage justly, without lies. So that those who claim to represent justice have to engage justice justly, on all levels, without lies. And comments Arthur Green on this, in a biblically based vision of social justice, it always remains clear that ends never justify the means, and that a vision of justice justly administered, is at the core of a Jewish mindset. I'd like to also suggest that back there where it says, in the Sfat Emet, where it says, it is not true until the person is entirely unified and prepared for God's service. And in the case of secular law, but really all law, serving all justice, even if we don't want to put God in it, as is our right, we might substitute for God's service, serving the greater whole. being dedicated to that greater whole rather than our own interests or our own perspective. And in that we might equate God with truth in that sense. In the same way that we go to the Hall of Justice, which is meant to inspire awe. You know, we're called to a courtroom and we get a little lump in our throat, and it's meant to inspire a little bit of awe and a little bit of fear. And it's the same thing that is being suggested here in Torah, that when you go to where justice is administered, that you're going to a place where you really need to know that there's somebody above you. There is something greater than you, and that's what's being served. And that's the idea of justice. So, I don't know, I thought this was a well worthwhile text, and never an accident that it falls at a time in which we're reading about these things in the paper. So thanks for going along with me. Shabbat Shalom. Let's turn to page 282 in our Siddurim and rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Please be seated. May all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. And then shall your realm be established on earth and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו We are now officially in the month of Elul, so we add the 27th Psalm to our liturgy till the end of the Yamim Noraim. You can find this on the top of page 358, Achad Sha'alti. One thing I ask of this, only that do I seek. To live in the house. The days of my life. To gaze upon the beauty of God. And to frequent God's temple. Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. In which we remember those who gave us life, those who walked with us, those who taught us. We are still in Shloshim for Arlene, Marcia, Milton, Silverman, and we're observing the yard site, please rise if I call the name of your loved one. Marshall E. Bloomfield, Blanche Dorman, Charles Goldstein, Rita Opper, and Beatrice Rosensweet. Is that your mom, Elliot? Or your dad, Charles? Your dad? How many years?
Yesterday was 21 years. Back first become 11.
Wow. One sentence about him? One sentence about him? What's standing out in your mind about him most this year? What is standing out in your mind the most about him this year?
I always listen. His compassion.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that your mom, Tom?
Yes.
How long has it been?
21 years.
Oh, around the same. What's standing out this year for you?
He was kind of selfless and dedicated.
Page 294. And if it's your custom to rise in solidarity with those, I invite you to do so. Otherwise, you can remain seated. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal. Shmei dekudesha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen.
May their memories always be a blessing. Please be seated. I don't know. Tom, you retired from announcements or you want to do them? Oh, good. You know what, let's do these together and you'll do every other one, okay? So I can do the one about you.
Tag team.
That's a shofar. So you do 1 and 2 and I'll cut.
Temple membership expired June 30th, in case you didn't know. And that's 2 months ago. So unless you're already enrolled in AutoPay with a credit card or a debit card, you need to renew your membership now. Did I say now? Did I say now? It's all on the Temple website.
You're being pretty ferocious in your retirement, Tom, I gotta say.
But Rabbi, you have to register for the High Holy Days.
You have to register for the High Holy Days because Nancy will be at the door, and if you're not registered,
You don't want that.
you don't want that.
And so everyone must register. That's right. And please consider, while you're registering, signing up for an ushering shift to offer a warm, welcoming Shana Tova to all who are joining us. Cantor, you're exempt from that. You have a different job now.
Okay, I take this one. Okay, so this time next week, 7 o'clock, Friday night, 7 o'clock, we are going to be honoring Tom for his 6 years of service as president. He deserves, 6 years. You see why he's gray? You had not a gray hair before you were president.
I did not.
You don't have anyway, we are honoring him. Got to register by Tuesday. It's $18 per person. Do it on the website. But really, we should all be coming out and honoring Tom for everything that he's done for the temple. Yes. There will not be a service. It's just a dinner. However, everybody, even if you don't register for the dinner, you can come at 8:30 if you're saying Kaddish and for the oneg. So do that. Also, the next day, morning after, Tot Shabbat, if you've got a child, 0 to 5, it is the hottest ticket in town. Okay, you get.
And it's free, too.
It's free.
And you don't have to know anybody.
Yeah. You do Pride.
Temple Beth-El will be tabling at Jersey City Pride on next Saturday, August 26th, from 1 to 6 p.m., and we're looking for people to volunteer to be at the table for 1-hour shifts. So whether you identify as LGBTQ+ or an ally, it's an easy and fun way to help out and represent our synagogue for just 1 hour. To sign up, use the link in the weekly.
Plus, Pride is just such a good time. We've all been downtown during Pride. It's to have a table there and to see. It's great people watching. Yes. Okay. The week after that, Friday the 1st, we are going to be observing Recovery Shabbat. So that's going to be 6:30 on September the 1st. September is National Recovery Month, and this is an important way to bring awareness of addiction and recovery in our community. Addiction is a very real scourge in our world. The Jewish community is by no means immune, and so please do come and support and celebrate every step in recovery. And if it's not enough fun just to be at Pride, the table, all about Downtown Street Fair, we're going to be represented there too. It's a great deal of fun. Come man the table, sign up for an hour. It's all on the weekly. And then you do 9. Down here.
Come to services and double your mitzvah points just by pushing a couple of buttons. Talk to Seth Lubin about being part of the tech crew to ensure our services are live streamed to all at home. Plenty of other such ways to rack up those mitzvah points by volunteering a little or a lot. Just ask me or the rabbi at the oneg after services.
Thank you. Is that it? You done? Nope. Change the world one meal at a time with only 1 hour of your week. Help feed our hungry and homeless neighbors. We fully fund and support a food pantry every Thursday from 5 to 6:30. So if you can come and help for an hour, come help for an hour, or donate the food, or donate some money if we can buy the food. It's only sustained because of what it is that we do. So.
We give out 20, 30, 40 bags every week.
Yeah. So we got some good news this week, didn't we, Tom?
We did, Rabbi. How did you know?
Because I got eyes in the back of my head. No, so as you know, we're going to be redoing the social hall. And this is going to be a very expensive proposition. The good news is that FEMA is giving us $2.5 million. The bad news is that that only represents 90% of what they think the job costs, right? So not only do we have to come up with the 10%, but there's also, the expression, you can't put lipstick on a pig. There's some infrastructure stuff we really got to fix before we do that. So we have to raise significant amount of money.
Some other things that they're not paying for.
Right.
We have to raise significant money, and we have some of it that we've already raised. And just this week, we received a sizable donation it's a bittersweet moment because Temple B'nai Jacob on West Side Avenue has shut down. And Temple B'nai Jacob branched off from Temple Beth-El about 60 years ago, and they opened a conservative synagogue on West Side Avenue. They have their congregation dwindled. They closed down, ceased operations, and they've sold their building. They just closed about a week ago, and this week we received over $400,000 in proceeds from the sale of that building. Yeah.
So, yeah.
We are the largest recipient of money. And that money was given to us with the intention that it could help us make up this deficit so that we can finish the job of redoing the social hall. So that's what we plan to use the money for.
But it's not enough.
It is not enough.
It's not enough.
It is still not enough.
Well, because also we have to fix the roof.
We have to fix the roof. And we just had probably early next week we'll be getting a report from the consultant that we hired. After all the roofers couldn't figure it out, we brought in a consultant. And
We call them the Ghostbusters. Because when they're on call, whenever it rains, they come out. So that's how they find out where the leak is.
yeah,
It is.
it has to be raining.
And so they came out.
Yeah, and sloshed around for a couple hours. Well, they're mostly dry up, way up there under the dome.
So that's the good news.
That's the good news.
Thank you, Tom.
And speaking of sloshing, we're still sloshing around with the Jersey City Department of Historic Preservation so that we can get our permits and approvals so that FEMA will actually be able to give us this money. When that will happen, we don't know, but it will happen.
It will. It will. It will.
Not before the shofar is sounded.
We can still pray. Ein Keloheinu, page 322. Ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na. Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ya na na ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na. Ein Kemoshienu, mi Eloheinu, mi Adonenu, mi Malkeinu, Yanana, 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 na 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 na, Yanana, na 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 na, mi Moshienu, no del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkeinu, Yanana, 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 na 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 na, Yanana, na 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 na, no del Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Yanana, 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 na 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 na, Yanana, na 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 na, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Yanana, 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 na 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 na, Yanana, na 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 na, Atahu Moshienu, Yam pam 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 pararara, Yam pam 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 pararara, Yam pararam pam pam pa, yararanta, yarara da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Please join us for the oneg in the back. Cantor Bresnik, Ben, you're good? All right.
Do a good act. Take it on the road.
Going to take it on the road. Tom. Turn this off.